purpose of this is really so we can kind of assess not only where we think the points are, but how do we build that into our assessment? How do we make sure that the goals of collaborative reform for San Francisco reflect your voice? That's really the most critical part. And when we talk about the difference, and we heard you loud and clear that many of you felt that consent decree was the more appropriate way to go. I think that they're both important tools in our justice system, but I can tell you that this is the only tool that will constantly reach into you for your voice. And that's what I want to start today. And I think it's important that, one, we have a dialogue, we talk about some of the issues, and then we open up the mics and we hear from you. The other thing that we talked about before is, there was a lot of people who were pretty upset that you had 2 minutes. And we're going to adjust it based on what the crowd wants to do. Right now, thank you, it's a small crowd, and so we're going to put the clock to 5 minutes. And if you have something that you want to say, and you got to get back in line, I think we're going to be here for a while and we can talk. So we're not trying to put you in a position of hurrying up to say a concise message so we can get you off and move on to someone else. We're really just trying to be respectful to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to talk. So I think we're going to go with this. If the boss comes up and 500 more people come up, we may have to adjust, but right now I think we're okay. So you should feel pretty comfortable. The clock's up there for you. Now, the next thing I want to do is, how's this? Is that better? The next thing I want to do is, I want to talk a little bit about, we all heard that, didn't we? I was just trying to make sure it works. We had some concerns from people that they didn't have the opportunity to give their voice and they may have been uncomfortable to come up to the microphone. So I'd like to really try to start polling this group a little bit. Now this is something a little bit new, and if you can see up on the screen, there's a couple ways that this can happen. It's an interactive tool, and if you have a smartphone, you can go to that website that's up there and log on and you can answer some questions and all your answers will show up on the screen. Now we're going to do our best to filter out the really nasty words, but we're not going to filter out, and you'll see it in real time. So if you don't see what you said, well, you'll get the opportunity to tell us. But it'll come up on the screen and we'll start to talk. And what this will do is it'll help us capture in a couple of questions what the tone of the group is and make sure that we understand what we're supposed to be paying attention to. Now, if you don't have a smartphone, or you don't want to use your smartphone, you can raise your hand and someone will bring you a pencil. We'll have people, if we have some folks walking around with some index cards, there's only 3 questions, and some of them we're going to be asking you to answer in 1 word. So why don't we go ahead and get started? And if you could go ahead and log into that, pollev.com/cops, or text 222-333, that number, and text the word cops, you can see your answers up there. If you don't want to do that, I can give you an index card. The other thing you can do is you can just shout out your answers. And we have Sherry here who is taking notes, and she will at this point really start to capture what the crowd says, and she's going to keep a record of what the points are that you make. So if we can go ahead and advance to the next slide. If you go to the website, you're going to see a screen like this, and it'll start asking you a question. So go ahead and hit the next slide. And you can see here what we're going to ask you is in 1 word, can you tell us what issue with the SFP brought you here today?
Unaccountability. 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 Illusion. Not enforcing medical law. Not enforcing medical law.
So I think that there's some messages that we get. One,
not enforcing medical law.
Well,
not enforcing medical law.
That's what we're trying to do.
Not enforcing medical law.
I think that the message that we're trying to get here is, one, there's some real concern about violence. There's some real concern about violence in the community that's been conducted by police officers. It's really clear. So,
not enforcing medical law. Not enforcing medical law.
So let's go ahead and go. So we see here, a lot of your comments are up there. We hear them loud and clear. Let's go to the next one.
Not enforcing medical law.
So there's a bunch of concerns up here, and I would ask that if you're going to pick 3, if you're on your phones, if not, if you can do them on the cards, or you can tell us what are the important ones from these issues, and your answers will start to show up there. This will help us continue to focus what our goals are and what we're going to be looking at.
Not enforcing medical law.
So I heard a gentleman over here talking about not enforcing medical law. That's not one of our answers. But
That's not other? That's not other?
Yes, but we haven't that specifically captured. So we
Thank
can
you.
see police accountability is important to people. Excessive force is important to people. The militarization of police. These are issues that we heard last time. We're hearing from you now, and we will certainly be building into our goals as we move forward.
Let me touch one. What about crime? I didn't see any answers about crime.
By the police? By the police? Who are the criminals?
As opposed to some of the cities that we're in, we're hearing the message loud and clear that these are issues directly between the police and the community. We're hearing that, and I can tell you, you will see that in the goals. And in our last question, we're going to talk a little bit about, in a short sentence, what is it that you're looking for? What is the most important change that you're looking for?
Truth and accountability.
Cultural competency.
Truth and accountability.
With communities.
Truth and accountability.
So I think that
No cultural competency.
Truth and accountability.
clear that I think we should
People
probably
of
move
color
to
don't
listening to you.
listen to this stuff, 1 word and 2 words.
So what I'm going to ask
You have to
is,
tell a story.
I'm going to ask that you line up on both sides.
Yeah,
I'm right
line
here.
up.
Thank you.
If you have questions, we'll do our best to answer them, but this isn't about you asking us, this is about us hearing from you. So I'm really looking to hear what you have to say. Again, I just want to reemphasize a couple of things that, you can say what you want, but we ask that you be respectful to the crowd, and if you don't agree with someone's voice, let them have their voice, and we'll let everyone have their own voice. That's a really important part of this. Secondly is the Department of Justice Collaborative Reform is really about transforming the way the department interacts in the community in a number of ways, whether it's use of force, transparency, community engagement, but it's not about investigating individual incidents. So if you have instances you want to tell us about, we certainly will listen. It will help us form our goals, but our goals will be focused around to changing the behavior that led to specific incidents, but not looking into specific incidents.
It's a wonderful illusion.